Welcome to Check This Out, podcast for kids.
And they're grown-ups, where we explore people, places, ponderings, and past moments from history that shape the world around us. My name is Amy Contreras.
And I'm Cece.
This week, we are starting a new series on the 7 natural wonders of the world. And we're switching things up a bit. Since we launched the podcast, we've been telling you about impactful people from history. We've done episodes on famous Americans, American presidents, and women from around the world who changed the world. But Check This Out is a podcast about all things from history, and places play an important role in history. Over the next 7 episodes, we will be diving into the 7 natural wonders of the world. We aren't just talking about what these places are and why they've been called the natural wonders of the world. We will tell you fun facts, hit you with some cool knowledge checks, and tell you about the amazing things that have happened in these places over the years.
I'm excited!
Me too. The first episode in our series on the 7 natural wonders of the world features my personal favorite, the Grand Canyon. Cece, do you know why the Grand Canyon is my favorite natural wonder of the world?
No.
It's because I'm from Arizona, which is where the Grand Canyon happens to be located. I grew up taking trips to go visit the Grand Canyon. This also happens to be the only natural wonder of the world I've actually seen in real life, but let's not get too picky about why it's my favorite.
Fair enough.
Like I said, we will be doing an episode on every single one of the natural wonders of the world. But Cece, I think we should see if our listeners know what the 7 other natural wonders of the world are. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
It's time for a lightning round.
I love a lightning round. Let's see what our listeners already know about the other 7 wonders of the world.
Here we go.
This lightning round only has one question, but it's a tough one. Can you name any of the 7 natural wonders of the world, aside from the Grand Canyon? So we've already given you one, the Grand Canyon.
I don't know.
I'll give you a clue. One of the 7 natural wonders is the highest mountain in the world. If you think of a famous mountain, it's probably this one. Any ideas yet? Let's keep going. I'll give you another clue. One of the 7 natural wonders of the world can be found in the sky. Does that ring any bells?
I got nothing.
What about this one? Another natural wonder of the world exists under the ocean around Australia.
What is it?
It's okay. Maybe our listeners know a few of them. Cece, will you help me tell our listeners what the 7 natural wonders of the world are?
Sure, Mama.
Okay, we know one of them is the Grand Canyon, and that's what we're talking about today. But what's next?
Mount Everest.
Great job, Cece. Mount Everest is the Earth's highest peak. It's located in the Himalayas, which is a mountain range in Asia. Mount Everest is on the border between Nepal and Tibet. So many amazing things have happened on Mount Everest. I'm excited for that episode. What's another wonder, Cece?
The Great Barrier Reef.
Yes. The Great Barrier Reef is incredible. This is a huge stretch of amazing ocean life that is along Australia's coast. One of our favorite fictional fishies lives in the Great Barrier Reef.
Who, Mama?
Nemo.
I knew it.
Okay, so far we have the Grand Canyon, Mount Everest, and the Great Barrier Reef. What are the other natural wonders of the world?
Aurora Borealis, otherwise known as the Northern Lights.
Yes, Cece. Aurora Borealis is a natural light display that exists in the polar regions. These beautiful lights in the sky are caused by particles from the sun colliding with the Earth's atmosphere. It creates these beautiful dancing hues of color that only show up in the night sky. I hope to see them one day. What's next, Cece?
Victoria Falls.
Victoria Falls is on the Zambezi River. This huge waterfall spans the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa. This massive waterfall is also known as the smoke that thunders. If you've ever heard of Niagara Falls, which is pretty famous in the United States, Victoria Falls puts it to shame. Victoria Falls is significantly larger than Niagara Falls, both in width and height, and it's considered the world's largest sheet of falling water.
That is cool.
Yeah. What's another natural wonder, Cece?
The harbor of Rio de Janeiro.
The harbor of Rio de Janeiro, also known as Guanabara Bay, is considered a wonder of the world due to its size, unique appearance, and the landmarks it surrounds. It's the largest bay in the world, and it's really beautiful and unique because this harbor is surrounded by landmarks like Sugarloaf Mountain and the iconic Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio de Janeiro. What are we missing, Cece? We've told our listeners about the Grand Canyon, Mount Everest, the Great Barrier Reef, Aurora Borealis, Victoria Falls, and the harbor at Rio de Janeiro. But that's only 6. What's the 7th natural wonder of the world?
Paricutin volcano.
Paricutin volcano, located in Mexico. This volcano emerged unexpectedly in 1943. It was the first volcano to erupt in modern times, whose entire life cycle from birth to extinction was witnessed and studied by scientists. This volcano remained active until 1952. So now we know the 7 natural wonders of the world. Let's just recap one more time so we're all on the same page. Cece, hit it.
The Grand Canyon. Mount Everest. The Great Barrier Reef. Aurora Borealis. Victoria Falls. The harbor of Rio de Janeiro. Paricutin volcano.
Nice. Thanks, Cece. I suppose after all that context, we should dive into the natural wonder we're talking about this week, huh? No more waiting. Let's talk about the Grand Canyon.
I'm excited to learn more.
Me too. Here we go. The Grand Canyon is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and it's located in northwestern Arizona in the United States. It runs about 277 miles long, and at different points along the canyon, it can be as much as 18 miles wide. And it's about a mile down deep from the top of the rim down to the Colorado River that cuts through the bottom of the canyon.
Wow!
Here are some cool facts about the Grand Canyon.
Fact number 1.
Native Americans have lived in and around the Grand Canyon for at least 12,000 years. Spanish explorers encountered the Grand Canyon in the 16th century for the first time. In 1869, American explorer John Powell and his team navigated the Colorado River through the canyon. After that, the Grand Canyon began to earn worldwide fame. In 1903, President Teddy Roosevelt visited the Grand Canyon for the first time, and he became a key figure in the protection of the Grand Canyon.
More on that later.
You're right. It's a bigger story. We'll come back to it.
Fact number 2.
The Grand Canyon was established as a national park in 1919. Over 4.5 million visitors come to visit the Grand Canyon National Park each year. There are 4 visitor centers at the Grand Canyon. There's the South Rim, Verkamp's Desert View, and North Rim. The South Rim is the busiest because it's closest to the Phoenix metro area. The Grand Canyon has tons of beautiful hiking trails and viewpoints. There's only one place to stay at the bottom of the canyon, a place called Phantom Ranch.
Fact number 3.
The Grand Canyon creates its own weather. Because of the size and depths of the Grand Canyon, weather can be a little wacky at the Grand Canyon. Sudden changes in elevation, which is how high you are, have a big impact on temperature. So the weather you're experiencing could change a lot depending on where you are in the Grand Canyon.
I learned something new today.
Same, honestly. Now, Cece, let's ask our listeners a question.
True or false?
The Grand Canyon is the largest canyon in the world.
The answer is false.
Yeah, it's false. In Tibet, there's a canyon called the Yarlung Sangpo Grand Canyon. This canyon is 17,567 feet deep. That makes it over 2 miles deeper than the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon in Arizona is 6,093 feet deep. The Tibetan Canyon is also about 30 miles longer than the Grand Canyon. So if you're into cool canyons and geology, which is the study of Earth, you should definitely check out the Yarlung Sangpo Grand Canyon in Tibet. But the Grand Canyon in Arizona is old. really, really old. Allow me to explain. This is a source from the National Park Service's website on the geology of the Grand Canyon. Remember, geology is the study of Earth. The story of the Grand Canyon begins almost 2 billion years ago, which is a really, really long time ago. That was when the igneous and metamorphic rocks of the inner gorge of the canyon were formed. And above these super old rocks lie tons of layers of sedimentary rock. And each layer of rock tells a unique story and part of the environmental history of the Grand Canyon region. Between 70 and 30 million years ago, still a very, very long time ago, something called plate tectonics happened, and the whole region ended up getting uplifted, which resulted in the high and relatively flat area, which is the Colorado Plateau, which is where the Grand Canyon exists.
What's that?
Plate tectonics is how things like our continents move around. So if you can imagine the Earth's surface like a big jigsaw puzzle, which has huge pieces on it, those are called tectonic plates. These plates are floating on a hot, gooey layer called the mantle of the Earth. Because the mantle is moving, the plates that sit on top of it also move. And sometimes they crash into each other or pull away or slide against each other. This movement of the tectonic plates causes things like earthquakes, volcanoes, and it even causes mountain ranges to be formed.
Ooh.
But back to the point of the Grand Canyon being super old. Around 5 or 6 million years ago,
That was a long time ago.
the Colorado River began to carve its way downward. So the Colorado River ran over the rocks and eroded them over time, creating the Grand Canyon.
What does that word mean?
Here's the definition of erosion from Britannica Kids. Water, wind, and other natural forces cause rocks and earth to wear away. These forces also move bits of rock and earth to new places. This movement changes the shape of the land. Think about if you've ever played with sand and you've poured water into the sand to create a stream. You notice the water moves the sand and creates a small canyon or crater because the water erodes the sand or moves the sand from where it was originally.
Yeah!
So this process of erosion is why the Grand Canyon is so cool to look at, because the water started at the top and it's been eroding down the land for millions of years. And that's why we see all these cool layers of rock that we never would have otherwise seen. The Colorado River for millions of years has been running through this area and it's revealed all these layers of earth.
That's amazing.
So now we know some of the basics of the Grand Canyon, like it's 277 miles long, it's up to 18 miles wide, and up to 1 mile deep. We know it's super, super old. We know it's in Arizona. We also know that Native Americans have lived in and around the canyon for around 12,000 years, long before European explorers discovered it. We know it became a national park in 1919, and it's so massive that it makes its own weather. Let's learn more about the Grand Canyon and some of the things that have happened there over the years.
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
Well, before I give you more information, I'm actually going to see what our listeners already know. Let's do some Grand Canyon trivia. What is the animal that takes you up and down the Grand Canyon? A, a horse. B, a mule. C, a donkey. If you guessed B, you're right. Mules are known for being sure-footed, and because the canyon trails can be steep and long, they're the perfect animals to carry visitors up and down the trails. You can also hike on foot if you choose, but watch out for mule droppings.
Good to know.
Okay, let's do our next question. What is the name of the river that runs through the Grand Canyon? I hope you know this one. I talked about it during our conversation on erosion. Is it
A,
the Colorado River,
B,
the Rio Grande River,
C?
the Powell River?
If you think the answer is A, you're correct.
The Colorado River still runs through the bottom of the Grand Canyon today. How many people a year come to visit the Grand Canyon? A, 7.2 million people a year. B, 5.6 million people a year. C, 4.7 million people a year. As of 2023, C was the right answer. About 4.7 million people come to visit the Grand Canyon each year.
That's a big number.
It is. Okay, here's another question. What European nationality were the first to see the Grand Canyon aside from the Native American people who lived there?
A,
The English,
B,
the Spanish, or C, the French? If you said B, great work. The Spanish explorers were led by Captain Garcia Lopez de Cardenas, and they visited the canyon in the year of 1540 with the help of the local native Hopi guides. The Paiute tribe calls the canyon Kaibab. What does this translate to? A, mountain lying down, B, river of rock, C, canyon of color.
Mama, can I guess? A.
Kaibab translates to mountain lying down or mountain turned upside down.
Great work, everyone.
Mining used to take place at the Grand Canyon. There were active mines there for years before they got shut down. Can you guess what was mined from the Grand Canyon area? Was it A, copper, B, gold, or C, uranium? If you said C, great guess. The Orphan Mine became one of the most productive uranium mines in the region. It was in operation from 1953 to 1969. Nice work, listeners. Those were some grand questions. Lots of incredible things have happened in and around the Grand Canyon over the years, but I'll tell you a favorite story of mine.
Tell us.
A famous explorer named John Wesley Powell led an exploration of the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River. Powell was a geologist who studied rocks in Colorado and Wyoming. He was interested in exploring the unknown canyon of the Colorado River. He did this in 1869. And remember, back in 1869, barely any exploration of the Grand Canyon had taken place. The purpose of Powell's expedition was to survey the geology, the geography, and the water resources for potentially settling the region. He was also meant to document the wildlife of the Grand Canyon. But before Powell in 1869, there was another failed expedition led by an explorer named Joseph Eves in 1857 of the Colorado River.
Why, Mama?
Well, on the expedition with Eves, the boat crashed and they tried to continue on foot but had to give up. Remember, people go white water rafting on the Colorado River today, but these explorers didn't know about the dangerous currents and the river and how dangerous it was when they were first exploring it. So when Powell started exploring in 1869, he had a little bit of information from Eves's journey, but he still didn't know what he was getting into.
That makes a lot of sense.
Powell had 4 boats especially made for the journey. They had a pretty easy start, but after a while they lost one boat and all its supplies in a river rapid that Powell named Disaster Falls. After 3 months of exploring, their food supplies started to get low. The Colorado River has lots of those rapids and the explorers struggled to overcome them, but they continued on. On August 28th, they made it to the end of the canyon and the river became quiet once again.
That must have been hard.
It was, but Powell wasn't done. He actually led a second expedition of the Colorado River and the Grand Canyon in 1871. They left from Green River, Wyoming, entering the Grand Canyon at Lee's Ferry on August 17th of 1872. His team were able to document 66 pages of flowers and collect almost 700 plant specimens during the expedition. Powell ultimately wrote a book about his experiences mapping and exploring the Grand Canyon.
Here's a fun fact.
John Powell is still remembered through items named after him. For example, there's a Mount Powell in the Uinta Mountains and a Lake Powell in southern Utah. The Grand Canyon is truly grand. There's so much to learn and see.
What was your favorite fact?
Can I share just one more factoid, Cece? It's my favorite and I haven't even gotten to tell our listeners about it yet.
Sure, Mama.
There is a town at the bottom of the Grand Canyon called Supai. It's the capital of the Havasupai Indian Reservation. It's the only place in the lower 48 states that can be accessed only by foot, mule, or helicopter. Because it has no reliable roads, the town has to have all of its mail delivered by mule. How funny is that?
My mind is blown.
I agree. But now it's sadly time to wrap up our episode on the Grand Canyon. Don't worry, we have more natural wonders coming your way soon. But before we let you go,
we wrote you a poem.
In Arizona, this canyon lies grand, a beautiful sight across the land. Deep and long, old and unique, millions come each year to see. Protected by a president, Roosevelt did a good thing, making sure we can continue visiting and preserving. Historic, scenic, and home to some, the Grand Canyon amazes all who visit and come. Our sources for this week's episode were the National Park Service, PBS, History.com, Encyclopedia Britannica, the Smithsonian, National Geographic, and 7naturalwonders.org.
Thanks for listening. See you next episode. Don't forget to subscribe.